Thank you very much for staying around for the last talk of the day. My name is Ed Malthouse. This is work joint with Georgios Askalidis, who's a PhD student, or was a PhD student, and this is part of his dissertation. So we are working with the Spiegel Center for Digital and Database Marketing, and the Spiegel Center connects us up with companies, and one of the companies they connected us with was a company that provides services to mostly retailers to gather and display reviews. And so we met with the CEO, and the CEO asked us a very simple question, which is, what is the value of reviews? What is the economic value of reviews? Because this is a critical question that any decision maker in a retailing context would have to make. So should I invest in collecting reviews or not? And so that's really the focus of the work that we did today. So let me, so there's not a lot of literature on this. There's a fair number of papers that study, sales rank data with movies and so forth. So we started out with kind of a clean slate on this in terms of not a lot of research on the specific value of collecting reviews. So let me start by defining a couple terms that I'm going to use. So by volume, I mean the number of customer reviews that a product has accumulated. And by conversion rate, I mean it's the probability of purchase. If you get exposed to a product, it's the probability that you buy at least one of those. Now, George and I sat down and mapped out a couple axioms that we think will hold with us. So these are fairly simple and non-controversial. So axiom number one is, if you have no reviews, you will still have a non-zero purchase rate. So I don't think there'll be any argument there. Now think of a graph of conversion rate against volume. You can think of this as the intercept. Now the second axiom is that as you accumulate more and more reviews, the conversion rate will increase to some asymptote that may not be 1. So if you had an infinite number of reviews, your product, the probability of conversion is not 1. All right. The third one is just that it's a monotonic function. It's going to so monotonic could go up or down, right? So if it's a lousy product, you're going to start out at some intercept, and the asymptote will be below it. If you have a good product, it will go above it. All right. So with those axioms, one function that would work for this would be very old function, the exponential learning curve. Goes back to Thurstone's dissertation, if not earlier than that. And so let's take a look at this. It's a 3-parameter model. And if you let x, the number of reviews, go to infinity, the second term goes to 0, and the asymptote is gamma naught. Okay, let's consider this a second parameter in this, which is gamma 1. So if you substitute 0 into this, the exponential term, of course, goes to 1, and you're left with gamma naught minus gamma 1. Now this is very important because it's really the value of reviews. So it's the difference between, I don't know how I can work those. So it's the difference between not having any reviews. What is your conversion rate under that scenario versus having an infinite number of reviews? So gamma naught is the value of reviews in our model. Gamma 2 is just going to determine the rate at which it converges to the asymptote. So we tested this on some data from one of their clients. This is a specialized gift retailer. We had about a year of purchase history. And what's important about this data set is, so first off, these are kind of specialized gifts that the turnover is fairly quick. So you have a lot of new products being introduced. And what this means is that you get variability in the number of reviews. So product gets introduced, it has no reviews, and then over time, over the next few weeks, it accumulates reviews. Now, this is going to enable us to create kind of a cool control group in a sense. So we're going to be able to control for the quality of the product in that we're looking at the conversion rate when a product has no reviews versus 1 reviews versus 2 reviews and so forth. All right, so we kind of a built-in control group that works very well. What we're going to do is across some class of products, simply compute the conversion rate for a product and number of reviews. So for the first week or so, you may not have any reviews. You look at that conversion rate. So you look at every time a product gets exposed, what fraction of times does it, just simple estimate of that. And then you do the same after it accumulates the first review all the way through the nth review. Okay, so now we have an estimated conversion rate that's quite noisy, perhaps, for each product and each number of reviews. We then average this across products so that we can look at a typical conversion rate for products with a given number of reviews. We then estimate our parameters using least squares. So let me just do this first off overall. If you look at all products within the catalog that were offered over that year, you can see the overall, and the exponential learning curve seems to have a good fit. We've tested this for a lot of different subcategories, and the residuals often look quite good. All right, and so now remember, gamma naught is the value of reviews. So if you look at overall, the estimate for gamma naught is about 1%. So without any reviews, your conversion rate would be something like 1.6%, whereas it goes up to 0.06%, and then it goes up to 1.6%. You get a full percent increase. So that's a pretty substantial increase. You can break now. The answer to this probably is it depends on other factors like product category, product involvement. So if it's a washing machine, it's one thing versus if it's a stick of gum, it's quite another. So we started breaking this out across different product categories. To our surprise, it looks like it has a greater effect for the lower priced products in a category than for the higher priced products within a category. We did a robustness check on this. So we had an additional robustness check that you can read about. I'll just give you the short version here. Not all products. So the first time you see a product, you don't know the volume. It's not until you click on a review tab that you actually get to see the volume. Okay, all you get is the valence. So that provides another control group, right? So if you're worried about seasonality, this would allow us to take that out as well, because we can control your conversion rate if you choose to look at the review tab versus you didn't. And the short answer is you still see the effect. All right, so let me get to the conclusions, because I think I'm about out of time. So reviews have a nonlinear effect on conversion rate. We propose a very simple, parsimonious, elegant model, I think, to try to answer the question, what is the value of actually collecting reviews versus not? I think another interesting finding from this is the rate of convergence to the asymptote. Across a lot of different product categories, after about 10 reviews or so, you're most of the way to the asymptote. So what that tells us is, there's a very little marginal value to getting reviews beyond that. So I should probably stop. Thank you.
So first, thank you. I love seeing stuff like this that takes a very different approach. I've got a couple of questions about your conclusions in this. One of them is, it seems like it's still possible there's an external factor. That more reviews accumulate as a product gets better known outside the system, and therefore they're both caused by a product becoming popular. And the second is, it seems like in some ways you may be undercounting the value of reviews, because you're looking at the value of reviews to a product, but you looked at a retailer with many products, and I wonder if you had any data on whether not conversion of the product, but purchasing of anything changed with the number of reviews either on the site or with of the products that people looked at initially towards their eventual purchase.
Okay, so let me answer the second question first, and no, we do not. As for the other question, that's really built into our second robustness check, which is, so if you think about it, your confounding variable is popularity. It's unknown now and then it takes off. But with this other control group, what we're going to do is control the conversion rate of people who choose not to read the review at a particular point in time versus those who do. So you know the valence of the product, but you're not seeing the volume unless you go to the detailed summary of it. So I think that would partially address your first concern.
Did you look at the different rate as to whether they clicked on the tab or not as the reviews went up?
There's huge, we didn't look at the rate. There's huge differences across product categories on who looks at the products or not. Like baby food, nobody reads reviews of baby food, whereas like weight loss supplements and things are much higher. But yeah, thank you.
It doesn't seem like you did any, I'm over here. It doesn't seem you did any examination of the content of the reviews themselves, but it seems to me that that actually is going to be a big determiner in whether reviews are useful or not. Are they extremely polarized? Are they all saying the same thing? I mean, that seems like it would be an interesting thing to explore.
Yeah, so the valence of a review is going to moderate this effect. There's an interaction between the two, right? So if you have very few reviews, you're not going to trust the valence as much as if you have many reviews, and likewise, if you have a very a good set of reviews, then you would expect gamma 1 to be positive. If you have lousy, uniformly negative reviews, it would be negative. We did, split things into, it's kind of a tricky problem statistically, but we look eventually, was this thing given a good set of reviews or bad set of reviews, and we estimated our model separately for products that eventually achieve, the surprising thing, of course, if you have good reviews, you're going to have a bigger improvement. We had a hard time getting gamma 1 to go negative. It was small, but our estimates were at least positive. But yeah, working in those moderators is a very important factor. I mean, you can just do it by looking at subsets of your data, as we did.
I like your over here. I like your robustness check here, but you still have, that still introduces a difference between, there is a difference between consumers who scrolled down and who didn't, right?
Yeah.
So there could still be some other confounder because of that. I'm wondering, would you be willing and most importantly capable of doing this as a controlled experiment where you maybe hide some reviews artificially or lower the number artificially for some users, just to see if you do this experimentally and actually control the number of reviews, if you can get the same result? I think that would be really interesting. Can I really buy it?
I completely agree with that. The problem is it's really hard to get these companies to run tests.
That should be a lesson for all the companies.
If anybody in this room wants to run this test for me, I would love to work with you on it. Great suggestion. Well, enjoy your, your drinks. So that's it. All right, thank you.